Ready to open the hood? UseTool for the tutorials.
And for car parts, the right idea is the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bulk shock absorbers used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. To disassemble the front shock absorbers, you'll need to remove the windscreen bay to gain access to the shock absorbers retaining nuts. Take out the waterproofing joint on the windscreen bay by pulling it upwards from one end to the other. Using a ratchet, an extension and a 10mm socket, unscrew the 4 nuts, securing the 2 plastic windscreen frame covers. Using a Torx T20 screwdriver, unscrew the 2 screws securing the windscreen frame. Take out the plastic cover. To access your suspension strut support bearings, you need to remove the windshield wipers. Remove the lug nut covers of the windscreen wipers with a 16mm spanner and unscrew the lug nuts. Before removing the windscreen wipers, place adhesive tape in order to keep a precise indication of their location at the end position. This will make it possible to correctly position them when reassembling. Remove the windscreen wiper arms by making small movements up and down. Remove the side covers. Now remove the windshield frame. Now it's time to remove the wiper drive unit to gain access to the strut support bearings on the driver's side. Using a ratchet, an extension and a 10mm socket, unscrew the 3 screws holding the wiper drive unit in place. During this operation, you will work on the front end of your car. An alignment check carried out by a professional will ensure that your steering system is once again perfectly adjusted and functioning. Then, using the same tools, unscrew the brace from the metal bay. You can now move the wiper drive unit from its position, then disconnect the motor power supply using a flathead screwdriver. Then remove the drive unit. Then, using a ratchet and a 13mm socket, unscrew the 3 screws holding the shock absorber cups by a few threads in order to create some play for the next manipulations. In order to change the front shock absorbers on your vehicle, you must lift the front of the car and remove the wheels to have complete access to the suspension system. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels. Lift the front of your vehicle. Place the vehicle on the axle stands. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely, before carrying out this step. You will then be able to take off the wheels. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. You now have to remove the upper bowl from the sway bar link. It connects the stabilizer link so that the wheels are always in contact with the ground. To do this, we recommend watching our video, How to Replace the Sway Bar Link's Scenic 2. Brush the screw of the shock absorber base and spray it with degreaser. Then, using a ratchet and an 18mm socket, unscrew the shock absorber base screw. Then remove the screw. Brush the bottom of the shock absorber and spray it with penetrating oil. This will help with the future manipulations. Prepare a stable, elevated surface to place all the stub axle once you've removed it. Using a hammer, strike the axle stub to release the base of the shock absorber. Then place the entire set on an elevated surface. Finish removing the screw holding the strut support bearing in place. Hold the shock absorber with one hand and finish unscrewing with the other. In order to change the shock absorber, you must now separate it from the spring. You can find a description of the tool used in the video, which we think is most adapted to the operation. Careful! Pay attention as you compress the spring. This is not without risk and should be undertaken paying very careful attention. Install the shock absorber on the tool, then tighten the mobile flange against the spring, controlling its position carefully. Check that they're properly held by the locking studs, then slowly compress the spring using the socket wrench and the appropriate socket. Once the shock absorber is free from the spring, you can use an 18mm offset wrench and 6mm Allen key to unscrew the suspension strut support bearing. In the most extreme cases, you have to use an impact wrench. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. Then remove the suspension strut support bearing assembly. Remove the shock absorber from the spring.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.
Take the new shock absorber and all of the accessories that you will find in the video description on the Mr. Auto site. Before installing the new shock absorbers, it is necessary to prime them by pressing the shock absorber rod vertically so that the gas and the hydraulic fluid are separated. Unscrew the lock nut on the stem. Take the shock absorber and install the restraint bellows on it. Install the new shock absorber on the spring. Then install the rotating stop on the suspension strut bearing. Then install the whole unit on the shock absorber spring. Take the new nut and start screwing it on by hand. Before tightening, be sure to position the spring base against the damper flange. And finish by screwing on the lock nut onto the shock absorber stem. Make sure it is well tightened. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. Unscrew the spring compression tool, paying attention to the position of the spring on the lower shock absorber support. You have now finished preparing the new part. Sand and grease the inside of the stub axle to help facilitate the reinsertion of the shock absorber. Fit the shock absorber from its upper part, ensuring that the top prong is correctly positioned. Tighten the 3 screws holding the shock absorber support bearings in place. Thread the shock absorber base into the stub axle. The lower positioning pin of the shock absorber base must be inserted into the opening of the axle stub until the top of the pin allows the axle stop screw to pass through. You can use a hammer to help you. Position the brake hose bracket on the axle stub, then tighten the shock absorber base screw. Finish off the tightening with a Torx wrench. Put the sway bar links back in place. Then screw it back on. Finish off the tightening with a Torx wrench. Then you will be able to put the wheels back on your vehicle. During this operation, you will be working on the front axle of your car, so it is advisable to perform a parallelism afterwards. Put your car back on the ground and block the wheels securely. The final tightening of the 3 strut support bearing retaining bolts is done with the vehicle on the ground and with a Torx spanner. Finalize the tightening of the shock absorber head with a Torx wrench. Reinstall the wiper drive unit. Then reconnect it. Reinstall the metal bay brace. Then screw it back on. Screw back the 4 wiper drive unit retaining nuts. Replace the windshield bay then screw back the 2 screws and nut. Replace the side covers. Reassemble the windscreen wiper arms without exaggerating when tightening them in place. During this operation, you will work on the front end of your car. An alignment check carried out by a professional will ensure that your steering system is once again perfectly adjusted and functioning. Replace the plastic cover, then screw the 3 nuts back on. Replace the seal. Operation completed.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.